Great. Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take a top stories in crypto, break down a bite-sized pieces. So today, just the thumbnail and the title suggest, we're going to take a look at a whistleblower or multiple whistleblowers talking about how certain specific government agency is suppressing the banks working with crypto-related companies. That'll be our main story for today, but of course, we'll look at the markets, take a look at some charts from looking at Bitcoin, which shows pretty good accumulation. Then we're going to take a look at some macro events as there's a major housing market issue, not here in the United States, but elsewhere. And also, we're going to take a look at more layoffs caused by Three Arrows Capital. We'll take a look at how Coinbase is going to profit big time on the Ethereum merge and when that's going to happen, and also some misconceptions about the Ethereum merge. And lastly, we'll take a look at Sweatcoin as they roll out more public information. And I'm going to tell you exactly how much I got into Sweatcoin as I paid them to be a part of the project. So we'll go over all those things, but first take a look at what's going on into the market. So today, God, what is it? 17th, 12:45 Texas time. And yeah, kind of just chopping sideways, nothing too fantastic. Bitcoin's down a little bit, Ethereum's down a little bit. I think Ethereum will rally going into the merge, but I don't expect it to last big time after that. But who knows? It could drop precipitously and do the exact opposite of what I say. That's why I just dollar cost average. And that's pretty much across the board. Nothing's up too big. XRP's up 1%, something to write home about. Congratulations. And that's pretty much it. And then of course, we're down, which means, of course, traditional markets are down a little bit. S&P's down, NASDAQ's down a little bit. And so far, we've been pretty correlated with bits and bouts of here not being so much. Also, what I like to do is just take a look at some charts. My favorite ones are looking at Bitcoin because they are high quality charts. And it's a website that's 100% free. And I even put it in the link in the description, but it's very simple. Look into bitcoin.com. You can find it right there. And there's going to be three we're going to take a look at. One is the 2-year MA multiplier. And it's very simple. All it does is it just takes a 2-year moving average, which is in the green right here. And then it takes a 2-year moving average times 5, and that's the red line. And all it just states is, look, once it goes above the red, that's a good time to think about selling. And once it goes below the green, that's a good time to probably accumulate. And you can see there's not that many chances when you've had a chance to really accumulate. Right here in 2019, right here back in 2015. And oh, look, exactly right now is not a bad idea to accumulate. Does that mean that we can't go lower? Of course, it's crypto. Who knows? It could go down to 10K tomorrow. I have no idea. But I think in the next 2, 3, 5 years, you might be happy if you accumulate. Not financial advice, because I'm not a financial advisor. But also, take a look at a logarithmic regression, the Bitcoin price chart indicator. I like this one because it's colorful and it's simple to look at. And the big thing I also want to make mention of is, of course, as it scales down, we can see it just tells us the very bottom is just called the fire sale territory. And we've been in that since around June 13th or so. And we just upgraded barely from fire sale to buy. The next one is accumulate. And then after that, still cheap, hodl. Is this a bubble? FOMO intensifies. And of course, this is where you want to sell off. So right now, still a good time, it looks like, as far as what the charts will tell us. And then also the Puell multiple, which is basically just Bitcoin miners selling off. And it's calculated by dividing the daily issuance value of Bitcoins by the 365-day moving average. And just takes a look at the supply side of the Bitcoin economy. And we can still see right here that I love these charts. They're so simple. Down here was a good time to accumulate. We've gone above that, but still not a bad time. But we're still in that territory where it looks pretty good. So that's what's going on in the markets and the charts. Let me just think about that in the comments section. Let's move into the day story. This one's interesting. This came across my desk, and it's a pretty lengthy article from MarketWatch. Whistleblowers accuse FDIC of stifling crypto companies' access to banks. But I'm just going to skip that and just go right to the letter. So what this is the whole article from this is based on Senator Pat Toomey's letter to Director Gruenberg, who is the head of the FDIC. And this was August 16th. Yeah, so just yesterday. Wow, that's pretty fast. And here's what he says. And it's interesting because it talks about whistleblowers and what they are doing or excuse me, lack of doing. And I found this just to be par for the course of what's going on in in crypto world and banks and traditional finance working together. It's not. So, Dairy Director Gruenberg, this is again from Senator Pat Toomey. It's come to my attention that the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, may be improperly taking action to deter banks from doing business with lawful crypto-related companies. My office has received information from affected parties and protected whistleblower communications alleging the FDIC is taking such actions, even though the FDIC has not determined that these companies are providing services that are unlawful or impermissible. Given the FDIC's involvement under your leadership in the Obama administration's notorious Operation Choke Point, which sought to coerce banks into denying services to legally yet politically disfavored businesses, it's important to better understand the actions the FDIC is now taking and the legal basis for them. Wow, Toomey getting into the point. FDIC, this is what's been going on. The FDIC regional offices have been sending letters to multiple banks requesting that they refrain from expanding relationships with crypto-related companies without providing any legal basis. Whistleblower reports have also alleged that the FDIC may be abusing its supervisory powers to deter banks from extending credit to crypto-related companies. FDIC headquarter employees have contacted the FDIC regional office bank examination staff to question their review of a loan made by a bank to a crypto-related company and to urge them to downgrade their classification of the loan. So not only are they telling the banks don't do business, but the business that they have done with these crypto-related companies are like, let me take a look at what you're doing, what you're loaning, and maybe you should downgrade that because we don't like what's going on. And then, of course, it goes into some other stuff and they ask some more questions. But it just goes to show you that sometimes the legal process does work. Whistleblowers come in, they say this is what's going on. Senate takes action, talks to the director of the FDIC, Gruenberg, and says, what are you doing? You can't do that. Tell me why you're doing that, and we can move forward. So again, is this the end-all, be-all? No, but I think it's the step in the right direction just to let you know exactly what's going on as far as suppression of the crypto market. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. I'm sure that'll be good later when we do the Q&A. Let's jump into some macro. And we know that the housing market is slowing down here in the United States. I've got friends who are still in the real estate business, and they say, yeah, things are slowing down, but we still have our tricks up our sleeve. We can bring people in and say that, buyers will help pay for the closing costs. We can do certain upgrades. And of course, different contracts have fallen through because the interest rates have increased because of the Fed. But we're still moving houses, and the buyers are still building houses, just not as big as houses and most expensive. But there's a bigger issue coming on, not the United States. And I hate to say this, but I'm kind of happy that this is happening. It's in China. And I hate to say it like that because I don't wish this ill upon people, but it's nice to see sometimes that that U.S. isn't the only one that's screwing up. So this is a tweet, done some pretty good information from Graham Stephan, fellow YouTuber, and if Graham knows anything, it's about real estate. Now, as far as the macro stuff, I can't confirm most of this, and of course you can help me out. But the data that he shows looks pretty compelling. This is what he states: Chinese are obsessed, and that's a key word, obsessed, with real estate, and 70% of China's wealth is tied to real estate, twice as high as the U.S. Reports are now emerging about real estate Ponzi schemes, mortgage boycotts, and an unfolding banking crisis. I love this meme: 2008 veterans in the housing crisis that happened here in the United States. That's exactly what happened. Real estate bubble, defaults, banking crisis. You know the story. You know what's going to happen next. And this is something I didn't know. The Shanghai Composite, which is similar to our S&P 500, has not yet recovered from its 2008 peak, despite China's GDP growing by nearly 3 times since then. And we can see right here, if this is the Shanghai Composite, it peaked in 2008, and it hasn't come back since. Now, of course, NASDAQ and S&P over here has dramatically rallied since then. It is very interesting, though, that the stocks over there are not as big as what I guess some may claim to be, and of course the increase of GDP. I'll get to that in a second. He says, for some context on how crazy the real estate market is in China, the median home price in New York is around 10 times the median annual income. But in Beijing, this can be as high as 25 times the annual income. Look at this. Chinese and U.S. real estate. Shenzhen, Beijing. This is, wow, sale price per square meter is $7,000. Sweet Joseph. Phoenix, Arizona, $1,400. St. Louis, Missouri, $1,400. $7,000? Man. And that's, look in California. San Francisco, California is $5,000. Wow. And it's crazy, ridiculous prices over there. So this demand has led to Ponzi schemes. I think we can appreciate that here in the cryptoverse as well. Ponzi schemes where developers pre-sell homes, which are not even built, use the pre-sale money to start more projects and then collect more pre-sales from new projects. Buyers started a mortgage boycott as the properties have not been completed. And that's, I think, is some of the times when you see like those run the bank videos where people are throwing anything they can at the banks, and there's big riots in China. Not everywhere, but in certain provinces. The crisis spreads to banks as they had loaned out depositors' money to developers who were now defaulting on payments. As frozen depositors or deposits mounted and protests erupted all over China, investigations revealed critical systemic issues. If anybody's been around since 2008 for the housing crisis, this is par for the course. Reports suggest over 400,000 customers have fallen victim to such activities that they know of now. Public trust in the banking system plummeted, and the government stepped in to avoid bank runs and liquidity crunches. It's like it's playing out again. And the government has agreed to pay up to $15,000 for lost deposits. I don't think that's a lot of money, but whatever. But only if the banks weren't involved in non-compliant transactions. Government strategy for over-leveraged properties is to lend more money to finish them, pretend that everything is fine. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So follow Graham Stephen on Twitter. I think I linked in the description. But this is just one more issue of like, see, I have a flaw. My flaw is I look too much at the United States and I don't look globally as much as I should. But when we see stories like this coming about, and then there was another issue that came up in Twitter early this morning where people, especially in Italy and France and the UK, are commenting just how crazy, ridiculous high their gas prices, or not gas prices, electricity prices are for their homes. And I've seen it's like 4x, 5x, sometimes 10x in certain areas. And if you want to find out more about that, just follow me on Twitter. And it wasn't just one post. It was I asking people like who actually live in those areas, like, can you corroborate that? Corroborate? Yes, this is exactly what's going on. Some people say it's like a 4x. Some people say it's an 8x. It just depends. But I see some problems on the horizon, which would lead me to the next story. Oh, I forgot about this. Goldman Sachs cuts China's 2022 GDP forecast at 3% from 3.3. Shocker. But this one, crypto broker Genesis cutting 20% of workforce, as CEO Michael Moore. And to me, before yesterday, I wouldn't really have cared about this story, but it plays into a video we just did last night. This is what's going on. Genesis CEO Michael Morrow is stepping down as the company slashes 1/5 or 20% of its 260-person workforce following major losses tied to the collapse of Three Arrows Capital. Genesis, owned by Digital Currency Group, DCG, is also the parent of CoinDesk. Look for those to collapse maybe. Filed a $1.2 billion claim against failed crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital in July. DCG assumed the claim and associate liability of Genesis. Even though they have $1.2 billion, we did a video about this. I put this out last night. It was kind of late, but I made this video just that tells the whole Three Arrows Capital story from start to finish, where Zhu and Jeffries came from. I mean, even back to their early days in college and the different jobs that they held and how they got into the industry and arbitrage and some trading. But really what they were doing is just borrowing from everybody. And I know I've complained a lot about the different platforms, but I understand now where they fell victim because, and I'm not going to make excuses for anybody. It was a boneheaded move, let's be honest. But watch that video. It's about 30 minutes long, but it goes from A to Z, everything that happened with Three Arrows Capital and why these things happened. And it really just come down to they were borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And instead of putting up collateral, what they were doing was promising outrageous amount of interest. And they were paying it back from the next one and the next one and the next one. And we go over all that stuff. So that Genesis Capital we just talked about, they said it was $1.2 billion that they were owed. there may be more, because in the video that we covered, Genesis Capital gave them over $2 billion. And a lot of different companies that had come forward, they were doing so anonymously in the article because they didn't want to be attached to Three Arrows Capital, because if they do, there's a stigma against that. And of course, their creditors will look at them and say, when are you guys going to fail? So I know we talk about contagion, but there might be more on the horizon. Sorry. So that's what's going on there. And then lastly, to finish up, Coinbase is going to profit. I think they're going to profit big time from the ETH merger. This is what's happening. And I found this article odd because JP Morgan, which is also, I think, investors into Ethereum and MetaMask and so on and so forth. It's an entanglement. But anyhow, Coinbase will be meaningful beneficiary of Ethereum, says JP Morgan. And this is why. JP Morgan estimates that Coinbase has a 15% market share in ETH assets, which makes sense. They have to own a lot of them to be market makers, which trumps its 7% share of the overall crypto ecosystem. So they own 50% of ETH, but assets, but 7% of the overall. Coinbase's market share is probably tilted towards institutions, which we know because that's who mostly trades. Not mostly trades, but there's a lot of traders there. Unfortunately, you know who pays all the fees? We do. Retail does. It's crazy. Coinbase's market share is tilted towards institutions, which are more likely to own ETH and Bitcoin. The bank estimates that Coinbase can generate an incremental annual staking revenue of $650 million from the merge, with ETH at $2,000 when it hits that, and a 5% yield. The exchange began offering Ethereum staking for institutional clients earlier this month. Coinbase is bigger in Ether than was intuitive to us, thus leading directly to a bigger revenue opportunity. So, maybe Kathy Wood and ARK Investment, maybe they're like, maybe we should buy some more Coinbase back. And just to be clear, they didn't sell all of it. They just sell a little bit of it. But there's this part. But when they were saying about the staking and the revenue, which is pretty good, it got me thinking about the different questions that I've been asked as far as the merge, which is supposed to be happening, I think, in 27 days. And if you want to find a countdown, there's a great website called WhenMerge, WenMerge.com. Nice little countdown with updates. But there's a couple of, this was put out by the Ethereum Foundation, some misconceptions. And just so everybody knows, the merge isn't going to be anything like the greatest thing of all time. It's just going to go from proof of work to proof of stake. That's it. So there's a couple ones I want to make sure everybody knows. Misconception. Running a node requires staking 32 ETH. It's false. Anyone is free to sync their own self-verified copy of ETH. Now, I think running a node requires staking 32 ETH. That's not true. Another misconception, the merge will reduce gas fees. I want to make this very clear. The merge is a change of consensus mechanism, not an expansion on network capacity, and will not result in lower gas fees. So gas fees are kind of low right now because people aren't using it as much, especially as people get out of the NFT game and other different transactions. So even though they're low right now, just because of lack of use, it's not like they're going to drop drastically in the pennies. They're still going to be in the dollars, $3, $5, maybe even 10 when things go up. Also, misconception, transactions will be faster. No. Though some slight changes exist, transaction speed will mostly remain the same as on layer 1. Misconception, you can withdraw staked ETH once the merge occurs. No, you can't. Staking withdrawals are not yet enabled with the merge. The following Shanghai upgrade will enable staking withdrawals. And as far as the Shanghai upgrade, as far as I know, correct me in the comment section, there's not a hard date on that yet. I could be wrong. Let me know. And next misconception, when withdrawals are enabled, stakers will all exit at once. No, they state validator exits are limited for security reasons, so they're going to only allow so much. Misconception, staking APR is going to triple. That's not true. It's maybe up to 50% increase, but not a 200% increase. And then the merge will result in downtime of the chain. And that is, I thought this was true, but it's false. The merge upgrade is designed to transition to proof of stake with absolutely zero downtime. Now, that's just the best case scenario. We'll see if it all plays out and actually works. I'm rooting for it. I would like to see this actually happen in my lifetime. So hopefully it goes through. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. And then let's finish up with a little sweat coin. And if you haven't been on my channel that much, you know I love me some sweat coin. And I like it because it's free and they don't steal your data. And you can get it right now. and you can download on your phone, and you can compete against me, and it gives you these sweat coins for free. And there's nothing else you need to do. It's very simple. And then let me see, actually, in 26 days, they're going to airdrop everybody who has accumulated these sweat tokens. And you're going to be able to get these tokens for every so much that you've walked. Actually, let me show you right here. Let me scroll down. So for every 1,000 steps, you get a sweat coin. Like I walk about 7,000 steps a day. Not too bad, not the best, but I get roughly 7 sweat tokens. And then if you add that up over, weeks and months that I've been doing it, adds up pretty well. And then, of course, as time goes on, in 2023, 1,000 steps, you only get a third of a sweat coin. 1,000 steps, you only get 20% of a sweat coin. 1,000 steps, you get 0.06, and so on and so forth. So, like I say, if you want to try it out, it's not like Steppen, where you have to buy an expensive NFT and walk it all up and use these things to repair your NFT shoes. It's free. Anyhow, I love this part because it talks about this is how we generate revenue. And before we go on, there's a link in the description. I'm not shy. I'll tell you about it. It's right here. Sweatcoin. Walk and earn Sweatcoin. There's a deep dive vid. You can beat Dan on the Sweatcoin. And then here's the link to download everything, right? It's an affiliate link. So if you can't stand affiliate links, it's okay. Just go to, what is this website? sweateconomy.com. Then you can totally bypass me. That's fine. I don't care. But here's how they generate revenue. User engagement. Businesses pay to access our vast network of users. Just as you know, I'm sure when you got here for YouTube, you probably saw an ad. And that's what generates revenue for YouTube, ads. It's the same thing over here on their platform. Transaction fees on the Sweat Wallet app features. It's going to include a fiat on-ramp. Sorry, United States, you're not getting it. Fiat on-ramp, off-ramp, crypto-to-crypto exchange, NFT purchases, and more. And then here's how the revenue returns the token. They're going to buy and burn. They're going to invest in rewards. You can buy different things on here with your Sweat tokens, ecosystem development, and a bunch of other cool stuff. And then the TGE, the token generation event, it's in, like I said, 26 days, something like that. Only 10% gets unlocked. 90% remains locked over 24 months. And let me just show you this. So you see right here, it's kind of hard to see. It's really hard to see. So it's like there's an airdrop, team of advisors, private round, public sale, Sweatco. See this private round right here? That's what I got into. And I've got a lockup. My lockup for this on the TGE in 26 days, that's when you get your tokens. I don't get my tokens. You know when I get my tokens? I get mine, the first is 12 months after this token generation event. And then over the next 12 months past that, so over 2 years, then I'll get the tokens that I bought into. How much did I buy? Great question. Glad you asked. So in the links in the description, right here under strategies, that says 5% degen plays. There's a spreadsheet. Looks like this. And these are all the degenerate cryptos that I got into. And I talk about these over on Dan Degen, my second channel. I don't talk about them on this channel. This is the very basic meat and potato stuff. But over there is just straight up gambling. And I only put 2 to 3% of my portfolio into these projects. Nothing big, but they paid off pretty well. And we did Ginso Kishi. Right now it's at 20 cents, but over time it's been like $1.45. And I've sold along the way. I've taken profits, like I always tell you to do. Everdome, we bought it at 0.005, and then it went up to like 20 cents. Again, we took profits. Fame, we bought it at a penny, 100,000 tokens, and it went to $1.50. Took some big profits on that one. And then for Sweatcoin, and you have to remember, for all these different projects, I don't get all the tokens. I still have to wait. But when I get them, I take profits along the way. And for Sweatcoin, we did the deep dive. It's right here. The purchase price was 0.01429, so like a penny and a half. And I bought 1,749,475 tokens. And that's what's up. So when people are always saying like, how much they pay you, they didn't pay me squat, man. I bought into this and I have to wait a long time. I mean, up to 2 years, but I think it's a great project. It's free. I like where things are going. The deep dive explains it all. And that's what we got. So I pay them to be a part of it. That's what's going on. So look, that's it for today. So that will conclude everything with the news section. If you want to stick around, we'll do a Q&A. I'll answer all the questions that you got, the best of my abilities, and we'll go from there. If you got to take off, take off. Let's get out of here. Thanks for coming by. A lot of you today. Appreciate it. So thanks so much for that. Let's get into a little Q&A.